You've been playing Monopoly your whole life, but nobody gave you the rule book. Right now, real world property transfer is about to explode. 78 million boomers are retiring, triggering what economists are calling the Silver Tsunami. So the question is, are you ready to buy their house without banks, brokers, or debt? Today, our guest is Paul Thompson from Real Estate 101, and he is showing you exactly how owner financing and the affordable housing crisis can become the greatest opportunity to cash flow without competing on the MLS. This is tactical, timely, and game-changing advice for investors who want to control as much real estate as possible. So, welcome to the Closers Club. Paul, thank you so much for being here, man. Let's dive right in. So you have said that real estate is like Monopoly, but most investors, they're playing blind. What are the biggest rules that most people never learn that are really keeping them broke?
Well, the first off is people just don't understand that they are playing a real life game Monopoly all along. And we know how to play the game of Monopoly, the board game as a kid. We would go around the board, and to win the game, you must buy properties.
Have to.
But yet, when we jump into the real life game of Monopoly, we run around the board and we only collect our $200 when we pass go. That's our salary. We never buy equity. We never buy property. We never buy income. There's only 3 different ways to make income. It's from wages, it's from assets, and it's from government transfers. It's the only 3 ways from any economic system. Nobody teaches us this stuff. We are being trained by our system to be employees so that we're not getting paid as much.
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. And that was why reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad was so monumental for me, is it really just kind of broke through all of that, programming or whatever you want to say, just, the education that we had that was, go to school, get a degree and then get a job,
And that used to work. If you were the baby boomer age after the World War II in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, that strategy worked. People thrived with that. A working class person, a family of 4, one person could work, one of the adults could work in the family and make a significant income, cover all their expenses, and be fine. That's just not the case anymore. The middle class is getting squeezed. All the wealth is being transferred to the owners of equity and not to the labor of companies. And so if you are labor, if you are somebody else's leverage and you're renting your time for money, then you're not going to become wealthy. You must build, buy, or create equity somehow, some way.
Yeah. I think that is so true. And I've never really heard it put that way, but that's absolutely true. So you mentioned Silver Tsunami. Let's talk about that a little bit. It sounds like a really cool tagline. What does it really mean?
So these very wealthy boomers are now retiring. They're turning today, when you're watching this, today, 10,000 people turn to 65 in the U.S.
Wow.
And that will be true for every single day.
A lot of birthdays.
Until 2030.
Yeah.
Every single day until 2030. That's 3.65 million boomers per year that are turning 65. And a lot of them have accumulated a lot of wealth.
Yeah.
And they have small businesses, they have homes, they have properties that they need or want to sell so they can retire. They all want to retire and go to Florida and play golf, right? That's what they do.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are doing it. And they need to sell their properties. And in a lot of cases, they can't do it unless they sell it on owner financing to somebody who's willing to step into that small business and run it.
Yeah, I think that's true. I bought the bulk of my portfolio all from owner financing. And it was very similar, from 2 people that, one package was 27 properties. The other was like 16. And both of them were, they had some health issues going on, but they realized they didn't want to pay a bunch of taxes. But they wanted ongoing income that would, last for years and years and years.
They wanted to annuitize their portfolio without the work.
Essentially, yeah. That's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, because running property is not 100% passive. Like there are some responsibilities involved, and they want to turn that into a note to it. Like they want to become the bank. And there's a reason why the banks, in every city you go to, the biggest buildings are always the banks.
Yeah.
Right. It's like there's a reason for that, because they've learned how to take money and turn it into a stream of income.
Yeah, for sure. And some of these properties I think I had 20-year notes on them. They're coming up where they'll be due in the next, or finalized in the next couple of years. But yeah, every single month, they've been getting thousands and thousands of dollars every single month without having to lift a
And it's a
finger.
good deal for you too, right? Like, because
It's
like
great.
you were able to buy at good terms that made sense to allow
Mhm.
you to cash flow on these properties. And so you created, I can't remember the exact numbers, but 50 plus units, a
Mhm.
portfolio of 50 plus units
Yeah.
with 2 transactions.
Yeah, just with those 2, and then, we had a bunch of one-offs and
Sure.
singles and
Yeah.
some smaller packages, but, yeah, we bought over 100 properties this way, really over the course of just a couple of years. It didn't take a long time. It wasn't this, it took 40 years to do. Probably in 4 or 5 years was when we bought the bulk of our properties, when we were out being very active, wholesalers and investors doing a lot of marketing.
And that's why I love this idea of like being a deal finder is you
Mhm.
want to go out there and discover deals. And I don't really have an agenda with what I want my strategy to be until I
Mhm.
discover what the deal is.
Yeah.
Oh, is this one that I can wholesale? Is this one that I can
Mhm.
flip? Is this one I can partner on? Is this one that I want to keep and make in my portfolio? Are these 40 or so units that you have the like
Mhm.
perfect scenario to collect to build a portfolio that I can now live off of comfortably and not worry about anything else? Now I can do all the decisions I make, I'm making from a position of power and
Mhm.
control and freedom.
Yeah.
And because you have that mailbox money from all these properties that you probably spend a relatively small amount of time managing.
Mhm. Yeah, in the beginning, I managed them all myself because I thought I had to
Yeah.
do everything myself. I'm the smartest, I'm the
Hmm.
best. But as we started to grow our other companies, I realized I just didn't have the time to dedicate to that. And, honestly, I brought in 2 property managers, had them evaluate the portfolio, and they were able to almost instantly bring my cash flow up $10,000 a month.
Really?
Yeah, because I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't because it didn't have my full attention.
Well, I think that's common for a lot of business owners like you and I.
Mhm,
Like we are business owners,
mhm.
and we're probably the worst property managers around
Yeah.
because like my personality is I'm a deal junkie. I want to go out and find the deal, and I'm a killer. Like I'm a hunter. I'm
Mhm.
not this hunter and gatherer type of personality that's going to take care and manage a portfolio very well month to month. There are people who are good at that, and I'm not one of them. So
Mhm.
always know what your strengths are, and if you're good at management and you want to run a management company, great. But more than likely, you're probably not the best property manager around,
Yeah.
and your time would be better suited being the person who's finding deals and doing transactions.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Same reason our transaction company exists to help investors is they're terrible at paperwork. They don't have the
Right.
attention span. They're not there for any of that stuff. So 3 point, did you say it was 3.5 million people per over the next year?
3.6 million per year
3.6 million. That is
every year are
absolutely
turning
insane.
65. And
Yeah.
here's a number I haven't thrown out. $78 trillion of wealth is how much has been accumulated by the boomers, and that's being transferred to the Gen Xers and the millennials.
Hmm.
And so it will take some time. It's not going to happen all at once. And so over the
Yeah.
next 5 years, trillions upon trillions of dollars of wealth will be transferred to the next generation. And
Yeah. It,
so
it has to go
why
somewhere.
aren't you that generation? Like and
Mhm.
it could disappear. Like they could just turn down the business and just like
Right.
turn the lights off, right?
Right.
Why do that when you can step in and have the income of the property
Yeah.
pay for itself and
And
pay
I
for
think
you? Yeah,
I think what's interesting is most children don't want to
they
take
don't.
over these businesses, right?
They've grown up around it, and the children and grandchildren have no interest in the carpet company
Yeah.
that's being run by somebody, right?
Mhm.
Or the apartment complex, or
Yeah.
the portfolio of rental properties. Like the next generation many times doesn't want to pick it up.
Yeah, and that is just stunning to me, but I've heard that over and over and over again. So there's just so much opportunity out there, and I agree. I think owner financing is definitely the easiest path in there because they understand that if they sell you $4 million, and they get $4 million cash, they're going to pay I
Big
don't know
taxes.
1.6, $1.8
Yeah,
million
it
dollars
saves
in
them a
taxes.
bunch in capital gains. Yeah.
Yeah. So that by owner financing, they can, and I'm not the tax expert. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, but they can really break that amount down and just defer so much of it.
Yeah, some of them will even say like, I want you to
Hmm.
sell it on owner, like I want you to buy owner
Yeah.
financing. And if you don't
Hmm.
know how to structure it, then you're left like not making a good deal happen. And so that's why I
Hmm.
want you to, if you're listening to this, to learn the
Hmm.
mechanics of owner financing. It's coming back in vogue. With
Yeah.
interest rates up higher, it's a much
Hmm.
easier pitch than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago when
Sure.
interest rates were 2 and 3%.
Yeah. And so many of these people, they bought their deals on owner financing,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
they did.
Yeah, like some of the old timers that I bought stuff from, I would always ask them like, "How did you get these properties? What did you do?" And they were just making all kinds of deals. It wasn't something that had a name. It was just
Mm.
they were just making the
And it
deals.
was more common because, in the 70s and 80s, interest rates were so high.
Yeah,
And so I think we've been trained over the last, after 2008 and to COVID, interest rates were so incredibly low, like
yeah,
lower than the history of money. Right.
right,
And
right.
so we got trained into believing that money from banks were cheap and easy to
Mhm.
get. And now that it's not as easy to get,
Yeah.
then some of these mechanics that have been around forever make sense again.
Right. Yeah. Everything comes all the way back around. I remember for both of the guys that I bought my properties from, the one guy with 27 properties called me and he said he had all these properties. And I said, well, send them over. Let me look at it. And his name was Tommy. And I
Huh.
said, well, Tommy, it feels like you want full retail. Like I was literally just trying to get the guy off the phone. I'm like, the only way I could do this is if you'd be willing to finance it. Yep. That's exactly what I want to do. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, that's what you want to do.
Well,
And
and what's cool about that is a lot of times you can give them their price. Like,
yeah,
yeah, instead of paying cashing them out, you can get them their price.
yeah, I thought I was giving him a ridiculous amount of money. I
Mhm.
financed almost 1.2 million at 4% interest over 17 years, zero down.
Hmm.
It's like 27 properties, put no money down. Actually went to closing, got $10,000 from prorations and security deposits. It was ridiculous. It was
Yeah, I
crazy.
think a lot of people miss the lesson of owner financing. Like I know you know this, and so I'm preaching to the enlightened here already. But if you're watching this, like you may hear us talking about seller financing, but you don't maybe quite get it.
Yeah.
So a really good principle to capture that is hey, what is the nicest property in your portfolio? What is it? What is the retail value of it,
Hmm.
David? Like just throw it out.
Oh, mine. Let's see, probably the most expensive one that's not a multifamily. I've got a 6 bedroom, 3 bath house that I use for student housing.
In retail, just throw a number out. Doesn't have to.
Probably like 475
So it's
right now.
worth 475, 500 will round up.
Yeah.
Would you be willing for me to pay you $1 million for that?
Yeah, of course, depending upon the
Yeah,
terms. Yeah.
depending on the terms, right? Because you're enlightened, you know the answer.
Yeah.
So when I say $1 million, most people say, "Well, yeah, I'll take $1 million," because they assume it's to the terms are like right now. And no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I'll pay you $1 million, but I'll pay you $1 a month until paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suddenly, the terms are change everything, right?
Right.
And of course, that's an extreme example. I mean, like no one would actually do $1 per month until paid because it'd be a terrible deal. But that points out the extremes of the extreme points out the principle of the price is the least important variable in owner financing.
Hmm.
All the terms are much more important. So I'm very
Yeah.
willing to give the seller their premium price,
Hmm.
provided they're flexible on me making the payments that make sense for me.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it was always, can this property cash flow at least a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I, after I put the taxes, the insurance, any normal expenses, dumpsters, whatever I'm going to have in there, and I don't get super complicated in cap rates. I'm a very simple investor, but am I going to make some money, right? Basically off of this. And at the time, we had a very active wholesaling business. So I didn't need to make 400, 500, $600 a month. I was like,
Right.
can I make 150 to $200 a door?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go replace a water heater myself. I was younger, skinnier, and had a lot more energy back then. But I'm like, can I make $200 a door? And now, boy, I post the deals on like the deals that we did on
Mhm.
Instagram. People are like, well, yeah, anybody, if I'd have bought properties 10 years ago, I would have made money. I'm like, bro, it was 2010. It was the bottom of the recession.
Yep.
We didn't know we were ever going to make money. We were just trying to buy and pick up a little bit of cash flow and, hopefully it would be paid off someday. And, I would have that cash flow to live on. That was it.
Yeah.
We weren't counting on any kind of appreciation
The best time to buy a property was 20 years ago. The next best time was today.
today.
Like the principle here is it comes back full circle is you want to own a property because
Right.
when you own a property over time, the likelihood of it going up in value is very high. Like
Oh, it's yeah,
real estate tends to keep pace with inflation, right? And
correct.
so like it's nice to have a property, an asset that's indexed effectively to inflation.
Yeah, absolutely. If I've done this research because I've taught classes on owner financing. If you go back, 75 years and you just graph rental rates, right?
Mm,
It's up and to the right. I get it. We've had a couple of downturns where maybe things flatten out,
sure.
but over time, it's up. Same thing with housing value. It's just going up. And if you're buying a property and you're getting a fixed mortgage, right? Well, that mortgage rate is fixed over time. So
Right.
you're going to get that arbitrage between, your rent's going up, which let's say your mortgage is 500 and your rent is 650. Well, that 650 is going to go to 7 to 8 to 9 to 1,000 to 1,400
For the whole time you're paying $500 a month. Yeah.
That's right. It's a beautiful
And
thing.
people forget about it. Of course, a little piece of that payment is going towards your principal as well. So you're building equity in two directions, right?
Yeah, and your tenant's paying for it. Hopefully,
yeah.
as long as you don't have vacancies. Of course, one thing I always explain to people, depend upon the quality of the property you're buying. I bought a lot of lower end stuff, so we put more money into it.
Yeah.
But I also bought them for nothing down. Like literally, we have a 8-9 figure portfolio that we put $6,000 in upfront money into. Like it was nothing. It was ridiculous how little money we put.
That's
into
insane.
these things. It is.
So you can kind of pinch yourself. Like, how is that so smart to do that?
Well, yeah, I don't know that I don't know that we were that smart. I think it was we were wholesaling, we were marketing every day. We were getting up to the plate and swinging and looking at every deal that came in. And, we knew that we wanted to buy rental properties. But yeah, I don't think that it was, there's nothing genius about the offers that I was making. I was making people 3 offers, 100% financed, a little bit of money down and financed or cash. That was it. Like we just made everybody those offers.
Yeah, we do the same thing now. Like a 3 option letter of intent. I think it's so, like, I don't know who came up with that idea way back when.
Chris Kirschner with Autopilot. He's not a coach anymore. He was one of Lou Brown's guys.
Okay.
But he was the one that came up with that. It was the Autopilot program. It was 3 offers for sub 2s, and I just adapted it to for owner financing for us. And he's just absolutely killed it with that.
Yeah, there's something about, because we teach the same thing, is you put 3 offers in front of people, and one of them is a cash offer.
Yeah.
And the other 2 are some sort of creative financing offer.
Yeah.
And it lowers the blow of that insulting lowball cash offer.
Yeah. Right? They said there's something with the psychology of it. If you give somebody 2 offers, they could say yes or no.
Right.
But the minute you give them 3, their brain has to stop and pick one. I don't know what that is, or I've just heard it a bunch of times.
No, it's real. It's called a multiple simultaneous offer, multiple equivalent simultaneous offers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there's when there's 3 of them, suddenly psychologically we look at as a Chinese menu of options instead of a yes, no answer.
Yeah. Yeah. So for us, literally, if somebody says I want $100,000 just for even numbers, great. We'll give you $100,000. We'll give you $100,000 financed to 6% over 15 years. Right. I have a very basic amortization calculator on my phone where I can do this pretty much on the fly. My other option would be a little bit of money down. So maybe I would give you $85,000 with $5,000 down, and now I'm going to give you 4%. So I'm going to lower the interest rate a little bit. And, however many years. And then, or it's, $62,000 cash. Those are the options. It's very simple. There's no scientific formula. It's whatever feels good, whatever works for you, whatever will make you money. And at the end of the day, like, I don't care which offer they pick.
Yeah, they're equivalent to each other, right? Effectively.
Well,
and if your
I win because I set all the offers, so I win no matter which one.
Yeah, and if you can cash flow with any of those offers, then you can buy it with a little amount of money down. Yeah. It's hard to lose.
It is, and whenever somebody, let's say I give you those 3 offers, I'm like, hey, Paul, which one works best for you? They go, number 2. You know what? That's the one everybody picks. And whether it is or not, it's because that just reaffirms them.
Your answer is like, good choice. Yeah, you made a good choice.
Yeah, that's what everybody picked, because I don't want them to have buyer's remorse after.
Right.
And if they're picking owner financing, I am closing that thing as fast as humanly possible.
Same.
I want to get this thing over the finish lines, so that there's so that we own it. You talked a little bit about affordable housing crisis. I think this is really important, and not enough people are talking about it. As inflation goes up and rents go up, and it's getting to be a struggle out there.
Well, there's a concern for me there, is because we think about our rents keep going up and to the right, but rents are based off of the available income that people have.
Yeah.
And income's about to change. I don't know exactly how, but over the next 5-10 years, there's going to be a lot of people who are displaced by AI. I have already personally displaced people in my company from AI.
Really?
I've done it. So I'm guilty as charged. And I think about that if that happens at scale. And there's going to be some sort of AI tax or universal basic income or something that's going to happen. And I don't know what that's going to be. Like, is the government going to do a good job pulling it off? I have no idea. I'm skeptical that they do. And so I want to be somebody who owns properties, that has assets, that it's a fundamental need everybody has. But there's, on the other side, our people who are moving into our properties, our tenants, they have to be able to afford to live there. And how are they going to do that? And it's a real problem. And I don't have the solution for it. I just know I want to own a piece of land versus waiting for the government to figure it out.
Yeah, it's, I struggle with it. I'm not sure because, we have properties that are all different. I have stuff on the golf course, stuff in
Levels,
stuff that's Section 8, and we try to do the best we can to work with all the different city programs, but I don't know that. I don't know. I definitely struggle with whether or not that Section 8 and the government programs actually work at the end of the day. I mean, I think they work for some.
Yeah.
Geez, this would be.
And it used to be that was the most reliable income ever, but with some of the recent political uncertainty, like who knows if that's actually how reliable it's actually going to be. Hopefully that stabilizes and it's not going to be an issue, because it's a service that I think is legitimately needed. And we have a major problem. So I saw a stat the other day where in 1985, it showed the income and then how much the average. So the average income was like 25,000, and then the average cost of a house was like 80,000 across the U.S. on average. Now it's like the average income is 35,000. The average cost of a house is 400,000.
Yeah.
Across, it's like, so it's so hard for people to afford to buy a property. And so we're becoming a nation of renters. And for landlords, it's probably a good thing, but they're still like, they got to be able to afford to live there as well. And there's a lot of uncertainty coming.
There's some sort, it's a gap in the income, right?
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of hate on social media, talk about where we're renting properties at. But if I put a property out there for $1,000 and I get 10 applicants, 7 of them are like, or 6 are like, okay. And then you get the other 4 who are like, that's crazy. I'm like, is it though? Because I got 6 people who will pay it. I get it, but that you can't afford it. Sometimes that's a you problem. Like you're
right.
It's not, I don't, you made bad choices.
It's not you, it's the market. And there's something about housing that there's this underlying problem or assumption that like housing is a right because we all need it.
No.
And I get that. Like I think people should be able, an economic system, a government should have a economic system where people can afford housing.
I agree.
But having that imposed by the government and saying this is affordable rarely works. You need to create the economic system where it's possible.
Yeah, my response to those people are normally like, hey, well, tell me what your job is. Well, why don't you work for 70% of your job? This is my job. We put these properties out, it's our income. It supports our business and our families and our team and our employees. And, we obviously want to rent them for as much as we can, but I get it, right? We want good, clean, affordable housing. So figuring out where that, how to solve that problem is definitely one of the things that as a society, we need to work on the next generation.
And until we do, I want to be the ones that own the houses and not the one relying on the government until they figure it out.
100%, just 100%. So what are some of the things in your business that have gotten, moved out of the way because of AI?
So we now use AI to confirm our sales calls.
Really?
So instead of having a setter that gets on the phone and calls and confirms, we have an AI that does it via text, and you can't tell. You just simply cannot tell it's an AI, and it's very good and very affordable, and always on, and it's not a human. And so there are certain things that computers are better at doing than humans, and it's going to displace jobs because I thought I was questionable whether actually people would just shift to something else.
Yeah.
Maybe the person that I let go because of this found another job. I don't know, but I'm guilty. I personally said I no longer need you because now I can have an AI do what now 4 of you were doing before.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's, I interview lots of people that run AI, and that's what I think back to when we ran our wholesaling business, where we had that kind of junior acquisitions person who just called dead leads, which now you could drop that into AI, and that's texting, it's calling, it's doing all that stuff, and it's doing all the follow up. But I think, this has happened in society, for the last 100 years, right? When cars came along, they're like, oh, it's going to displace horses, and
which it
whatever.
did, but people moved from there to working in factories, right?
Right. We've always figured it out, and that's what's really great about humanity is I don't know that, maybe the government doesn't need to intervene. We just need to figure it out, right? We just need to go out there and figure out what that next evolution is for, where we contribute to society, and how we.
That transition can be painful, right?
Yeah.
And I think we're on the cusp of a pretty big transition. And I don't know if it's going to happen in 5 years or 50 years, but I think within our lifetimes, there is going to be this big shift of like suddenly. Well, in fact, it's already happened. Wages, the amount of wages that people are earning now for certain types of job has gone down. And so the amount of money that you are able to get by renting your time for doing a repeated task is lower than it ever has been.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's what value do you bring to the table every day for, whether you're working directly for, consumers and you're the business owner, or you work for a business owner, or whatever it is. It's how much value can you bring that's demonstrable to show, this is the thing that I do, and this is what I'm worth, right? Because you're worth whatever it costs to replace you. Unfortunately, that's terrible. But if it takes me 2 people to replace you, then you're worth that. If it takes me a half a person to replace you, then that's the thing, right? And
I think a lot of people lose track of the fact that when you work for a company, that the only reason they're doing that is because they're making more money for you being there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody that comes in should, you should be able to 4x your, if you make 100,000, you should make the company 400,000.
Right.
And it's not that that's all profit, right? Because running companies are very expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for sure we all have to bring value. So, wow. Well, we talked about all sorts of things, definitely outside of what I thought we were. Let me ask you this one last question. Let's kind of get right back to it. If you lost absolutely everything tomorrow, but you still understood the rules, right, of the game and how it gets played, how would you start over and land your very first owner finance deal?
I would go to a free location like Crexy or Zillow or LoopNet. I'm a commercial guy, so I tend to go more to the commercial side.
Got it.
But MLS is fine too. And I would call brokers and agents, and I would say, I'm willing to make you an offer, and I would put together offers, because making that call and running the numbers and making an offer doesn't cost you anything. It just requires knowledge. Yeah. So I would use that knowledge to put together offers, and then I would wholesale or JV that deal to a third party who did have money, so that I can get a piece of the pie, or I could get a assignment fee.
Nice. Perfect. Absolutely great answer. Paul, thank you so much, man, for coming on the Closers Club today. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll get you back on soon and talk about more stuff, because we went super long. So I feel like there's a lot more for us to chat about.